she thought it was like a slideshow. So it was just all these different slideshows, and then suddenly the slideshow just
Start
interrupts,
glitching.
start glitching, and it ended up being a music video with me in a long rocker wig singing Aerosmith. I don't want to close my eyes, lip
Because
singing.
that was our song that we danced,
Yeah.
our first dance song. So he
So I
did a
did a
little.
whole music video with a whole band, and we yeah, different locations. So I did a whole music video that she didn't know I was gonna
Yeah.
do. So that was a lot of fun.
Love stories fill us with joy and inspire hope for the future. And a true life romance can remind us that sometimes just one spark is all it takes to change everything. In the dance world, falling's just an occupational hazard, but today we're going to hear how a fall in showbiz led to falling in love. Welcome to Unexpected Love Stories. I'm your host, Don Prushkovsky, and today our storytellers are Tymme and Aury. They began their careers in the entertainment industry as dancers, and they performed with some of the biggest names in music. I mean, I'm talking Missy Elliott, Madonna, the Backstreet Boys, Shanice, Will Smith, and we're going to hear about their journey from industry friends to lifelong partners. Together, Tymme and Aury launched Word in Motion Dance Company and opened the Word in Motion Dance Studio. They've created multiple hip hop instructional dance videos, and they host the amazing Word in Motion Dance Festival. And you got to catch it in July because this is the last one. Now, all this sounds like it's pretty busy, but that's not all. They're also the lead pastors at Life 150 Church in Burbank, California. Welcome, you guys.
Hey, good
Yay!
to
I'm
see
so
you.
glad you guys here. Okay, so we're going to start by setting the stage for your love story.
Okay.
So, okay, so could you tell me, like, what were you doing? Where were you? Where'd you come from? Or what is it that opened the door for you two to meet?
Okay. Who's starting?
You can go, Baba.
I can go. Okay.
Yes.
You jump in and interject any time you feel I'm missing any details. We were both in the dance industry, as you shared in your introduction, and that's where we met. We were both doing a show at a showcase.
Choreographer's Carnival. I call Choreographer's Carnival.
No, it wasn't. It was the Edge Showcase.
That's the Edge one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. See?
It's been
It's
30
been a
years.
minute.
We were in the
Oh
Edge
my gosh.
Showcase. It's a dance studio in LA. And I was performing for one choreographer, and she's performing for another choreographer.
Mhm.
And so, we watched each other on stage, and um, I don't know if sparks were flying, but the
Okay, this is how I got his attention. I was doing a number for one of the choreographers, and it was a tribal funk kind of thing. We had painting and braids going, and there was one section in the choreography that all the other dancers went down, and it was actually me and Mandy Moore doing a duet. And we came forward doing these movements, but I guess the one of the dancers that was close to me went down too close to me. So he extended his leg and I tripped. I tripped and I
and she
fell.
fell
And I fell. And he was
face first.
you were in the audience at
I
that
was
time.
watching. Yeah, I did my performance already, so I'm sitting in
Right.
the audience watching now.
So my Brazilian kicked in, right? My Brazilian self kicked in, and when I stood up, I was so mad. I started going, "Yeah!" I started screaming, doing the rest of the choreography,
And that's when
and
I noticed her. I was like, "Who is that fiery woman on
yes,
that stage?"
that's what it was.
And so I don't know. Backstage, after the performance, we just started talking. We were
Yeah.
laughing. I just loved her personality, and we got to know each other, and just kind of built some kind of bond that took place,
Mm,
dancer bond. And I
yeah.
started taking her dance classes. She was taking mine. We were going to like the same auditions together,
We were
and
booking the same gigs and doing the same performances together. We end up having the same circle of friends, even, what I'm saying, that
yeah,
community that, was common to both of us. So,
yeah, we ended up being around each other a lot, and that was we feel like the Lord was doing that. His hand was in it, and we weren't really following the Lord at the time.
No.
I know we're pastoring now, and you got to hear that in the introduction. Um, but at that moment, that wasn't our time of surrender. Uh, so we just ended up being in these jobs together, and it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Building that friendship. Um,
Became very, very good friends, before anything happened.
Besties, yes.
And it's easy with you guys too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, how long were you guys besties?
Well, at the time, can I share what you were going through?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So Ari was married at the time, but it wasn't a good marriage,
Mhm.
and it had already fallen apart, and they were kind of just living as roommates. Uh, and I didn't know that. Like, she wasn't telling anybody that side of her life. So I'm here hanging out with this dancer. I don't know much about it. A couple weeks later, she kind of tells me, I'm actually married. I'm like, oh, awesome. you know um so we weren't like pursuing anything
We're just
romantically.
friends.
We were just friends. I of course respected it, even though she shared the marriage is kind of over, and there were some things that took place years before that. And so we just remained friends, and we're great support systems. In fact, she was trying to set me up with other girls. She was we were calling each other, oh, he's like my brother, oh yeah, she's like my sister. And she was like, yeah, you got to meet this guy, you're gonna love him. And so yeah, she was, so it wasn't like, but we were so close, and people saw this magnetic friendship that we're inseparable, and this relationship just flourished. And everyone kind of said, why aren't you guys together? Because some people didn't know her story, and
Mhm.
she didn't tell them why. We're like, oh no, we're just friends, we're just friends. um but about a year later, the friendship lasted for about a year before we kind of realized that we're actually more than friends. And at that time, the divorce papers were signed,
Mhm.
and they were legally divorced. um, and at that moment, when we kind of started recognizing that, we both went to church, and gave our lives to Jesus. And so we started this new relationship with the Lord, and started a new relationship with each other. So
Hmm.
it was kind of like that synchronicity was just perfected somehow.
At the
And
time,
Mhm.
it's like, God is so merciful, right? Because when you, like he said, at the time, even when I was married before, I was not born again Christian. It wasn't a good situation emotionally, mentally, and I'm saying was not a good situation. But it was a season that, without recognizing, I needed that support system, and I feel like even then God provided me with him, because when I obviously when I was going through a divorce, which is a horrific thing for anybody to go through it,
Mhm.
regardless if you're a believer or not, it really, really is a dark season that you go through it. And I'm saying it's really, so I feel for people, I have compassion for people who goes through divorce, or found themselves in a marriage that is not, a design marriage for them per se.
Mhm.
And so at that time, God was so merciful, even as not knowing who he was in our life, that he provided for me a support system that
Mhm.
kept me going in this life per se, I'm saying. And yeah, so I needed that, because at when I went through the divorce and we became Christians, even though we're still friends, I was like said to the Lord, like, I never want to get married again. I never want to get married again, not knowing that God was already setting me up for, something that was a gift from him.
yeah,
I'm
Mhm.
saying
it's an
not,
unexpected love
yes,
story.
yes.
Yes.
So at the time, so when we did start dating each other and we became born again Christians, and I looked at him and I said, I'm not playing games. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right under God's, presence. And I said, and the D word is not,
It's off the
it's not
table.
an option. No, it's not an option. The
Yes.
divorce thing is not an option. If we're gonna do this, we're
Mhm.
gonna do this in God's will, and that's it.
Mhm.
oh.
Yeah,
So
and
you
I
found
knew.
love and love. So you found
Yes,
love and love.
and love,
Yeah.
double love. Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
I
Yes.
knew it was serious because I saw, the hurt and the pain that she went through with
Mhm,
divorce. And I've been around, I grew up under marriages that were unhealthy, that were broken. And so the unstableness of that, so I wanted to make sure that I rose to the occasion as a man of God and created a safe, secure foundation for us, a culture in our house where she would feel, she can be herself,
mhm, mhm.
and that she never feels the threat of divorce, or she never feels like, we can't work things out. So that was one of my main goals, as this new
Mhm.
believer,
Yeah,
and new in this new relationship that I knew we when we said, okay, we're no longer friends, we're going to do this. We recognize the feelings that we have for each other. At that point, I knew that I had to be all in, and I
Mhm.
was completely
mhm,
committed. There was no commitment issues in the beginning. Like, we were such good friends, and there was such a deep love we had for each other as friends, that it was easy to transfer into a
mhm,
relationship. Like, there wasn't
mhm.
even a second thought. That was just so easy because it was already moving in that direction.
Mhm.
We were just doing the right steps because she was legally married at the time we became friends. And of course, all the paperwork, emotionally, they were already completely separated.
I came from a broken marriage, so I became a broken person. So
Mhm.
even though, when we finally got married, and I can see that is a blessing, I can see that it's totally different than the marriage before. Now we have God in the center, and now I was still a broken person,
Mhm.
and there is no way that him, without showing me, being a godly man that he was, that brokenness will be mended,
Mhm.
because we.
Okay, so I was going to say, with a lot of times, people want to know, like, how do you know this is the one? Like, how, because since you were such close friends,
Mhm.
how,
Yeah.
and you said it was easy to transition, but what was it that kind of did the click? Oh my gosh, I don't just like love this person. I love this person.
Yeah,
I want to have the rest of my life with this person. How did, oh, could you like describe what that transition was like for you guys?
I think that we were developing an intimacy already in our friendship. um and I think it was just almost like the veil taken off your eyes, and realizing that this has always been something more. Because we've had friends that just look at our, the way we'd laugh to each other and just play with each
mhm.
other and have fun and just look at each other. They're like, why aren't you guys together? And then another friend would say, why aren't you guys together? And so I think, and you know how, I think what most people want to hear is like that all of a sudden you see it and you recognize it. The moon was shining at the very moment. There was a violin playing in the background somewhere. But it was a gradual thing that just happened, and we then said, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Like, by the time we gave our hearts to the Lord, it was like, it just felt like days after that, we're like, wait, we're way more than friends. So
Mhm,
we thought that it already happened. We're with each other like 24 hours. We're going to every audition, every class
Mhm.
together. We'd go to dinner together. We'd laugh together. Not like date kind of dinners, but just like, going to Subway, having a
mhm.
sandwich. We weren't doing anything like that felt like a date. Um,
It was very organic, for lack of a better word, it was very organic, it wasn't
Mhm,
like we're not, and I think we're not looking for. We're going forward, and then it was that particular moment that we're like, look at it side to side, and who is by my side right now? Well,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
but it did feel like a light switch.
Yeah,
So
mhm,
it did feel like that moment. I think we were in my apartment,
yeah,
with my old roommate, and we were just sitting watching TV or something like that. And
yeah,
I think it was just around that time we're just the way we were talking to each other.
yeah.
it just kind of naturally happened.
We are so alike yet
Yeah,
so different
yeah, we got
from
each
each
other
other.
right
You know what
away.
I'm saying?
Just
It's
kind
just
of
like
complete each other. Yeah.
people will say
Yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are like twins." And if but if we're really like if you're really like paying attention, we are not, and
Mhm.
we play around now in our marriage 27 years later. Like he is the constant one, calm, loving, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So we're very different, but for whatever reason, we're also very alike, you know?
yeah,
Okay, so the veil has come off. The
yes,
lights, the moon started to shine even
yes,
brighter than before.
yes,
Suddenly, violins are playing.
yes.
I want, I want to hear, like, when did you, for the first time, kind of like slide your arm around her, take her hand? Um, was there something like that? Because I can remember very distinctly the first time I'm walking along and Viashik just suddenly took my hand, and it was like, what? What just happened? You know, are we there?
Yeah,
So
I
did
think we were
so.
making those
I'm
gestures.
what made that cross that line from
Yeah,
the friend zone to the love boat. What?
it's so strange, Don, because I think we were making those little gestures and those
Already, yeah.
already, um, in our friendship bonding, and not recognizing that we've been doing that. We've been clinging to each other. That it wasn't one smooth little move. Like, I'm gonna make my move. I really like this girl. Like I wish we
Do the
had.
big arm stretch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I wish I had those classic moves. I wish I did something like I'm like, does she know I like her? I think we knew we liked each other.
yeah.
And so it was those gradual little uh, uh, small gestures of intimacy, of closeness that we were doing along the way and not realizing it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when when we looked at each other, I think we did kiss in my room. Like, we
Yes.
eventually, that happened around the time we started.
Ooh.
So yeah,
And I think at that time became a conversation of like, oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna, you know what I mean? So by no means I'm not a romantic person.
yeah, yeah,
I'm more like, okay, let's talk. Let's get
Mhm.
real. I'm a straight shooter, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not too much of a romantic person.
yeah. The-
So I don't know.
Oh.
It was just
I
like,
yeah, it wasn't like we didn't have like this romantic moment, because she gets really uncomfortable in those romantic gestures. Like, if I write her a card and stuff like that, she'll kind of blush and close it. She won't make a lot of comments on it, you know. And if I compliment her, she'll look away. It's like, and it's it's not unappreciated, unappreciated. It's just it makes her all like giggly and like kind of like nervous and shy. And
Mhm.
so yeah, so it wasn't like she just would like, if I made any kind of romantic move or gesture, that she would look me deep in the eyes and be like, "Oh, I appreciate it so much." She would just kind of like shy and, kind of like just shrink a little bit. And so that's never been a part of our personality. It's always been like 27 years of marriage now, just like a deep, fun
hmm
friendship. This love affair has always been like the foundation has always been our friendship. And so
yes.
Mhm.
we started off as friends, and now we're still best friends. And that's kind of that friendship is romance to us.
Yeah. And I came
Mhm.
from a line of like family that the way we express love to each other wasn't so much verbally or wasn't so much like, oh, touchy feeling, it was more like, I know you got my back, I know you got yours, I'm saying. I
Yeah.
came from a
Mhm.
place of family that if I'm arguing with my sister or whatever, and but then somebody, a third party come and we just start arguing with each other, like, that's my sister, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like that knowing, I know you love
Mhm.
Yeah.
me, you know what I'm saying? So
Safety is romance to us. She
yes.
she knows I'm always a steady person to her. And so I think romance can be expressed in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so our friendship has been the romance of our life. Our joy and
Okay.
laughter together has our storytelling, telling me about your day, has been the romance of our
Yeah.
life. And yeah, we'll still go to movies. We hold hands every single day. So that um but it wasn't like, you know, I'm in a tuxedo holding a rose. She gets all shy of those kind of like gestures. So again, our romance has been our friendship.
Yeah,
Love that.
absolutely.
Okay, so of course, all good romance stories have obstacles and challenges.
Yes.
Once you knew this was the one, did you overcome some kind of obstacle or challenge
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that you
Uh,
had to fight through?
well,
Yeah.
with me coming from a broken marriage where betrayal was part of it, you know what I'm saying, and emotionally, excuse me, abused and mentally abused. So it took me a moment to trust again because my trust is a very um, rare commodity, if you will. And I'm saying I don't give up my trust so easily. You know, not that I'm trying to make people prove themselves, but I have to make sure that at that time that I'm not going to get hurt again. You know, so for me was that. For me was just like getting to a time to recognize that he is not my ex-husband, you know, and to make that choice, deliberately make that choice, not out of my feelings, not out of my emotions, not out of trauma, you know, but making that choice to say, okay, I will not make my husband pay for what my ex-husband did.
Yeah.
Mm. Wise, very
So
wise.
Yeah.
so there was a lot of like, fear that she carried and just
Insecurities.
insecurity from that. So there's a lot of broken. I had my own brokenness that I dealt with growing up without parents that passed away when they were really young, going into foster care, and so that I had that abandonment, rejection area that I had to deal with. And so the challenges came from those broken areas, those pieces that we didn't give over to God yet because we were just so new in the faith. We were trying to fix it on our own. And
Hmm.
so that just caused, um, I don't know, it just didn't allow us to grow faster, develop faster in this bond. We had to work those kinks out. We
Yeah.
had to deal with those areas of healing.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought we did it patiently. Yes, there was some challenges. Yes, there was miscommunication. I'm not getting where you're coming from. You're not getting where I'm coming from.
Hmm.
Uh, but I thought like God was just teaching us from the very beginning because we went from receiving the Lord in and a relationship at the same time. So we get to walk and learn how God loves and heals,
Yeah.
and then build this relationship at the same time. So those parallels was kind of healthy for us to get
Mhm.
through those challenges, those broken areas of our life. And so the timing just kind of felt
Yeah.
great. So we got to mature in those areas and get our heart healed.
Yeah.
And but
It
those
was
were the
a
things that those discussions that were just hard and
yeah.
difficult were the main challenges in the beginning.
And it was intentional. You know, it was a recognition that it wasn't the other person's problem what you were going through. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Once we recognize and took responsibility for our own brokenness, then together we can come up with something to help one another. I think when people fall short is when they come into a marriage. It's very easy to point the finger of what your mate is not or it is doing instead of like taking that responsibility for yourself.
At unexpectedlovestories.com, every click opens the door to a story that could change your day or maybe even your life. Come explore a world where love shows up in the most surprising ways. On our website, you can watch each story unfold on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Meet the guests behind the stories and even sneak a peek at their wedding day moments. Dive deeper into your host, Dawn, as she shares her own whirlwind love story through Love Unexpected. But it doesn't stop there. We believe that your love story matters too. That's why we created a space for you to share your own unexpected moments and a free gift to help you capture every beautiful detail. Want to stay connected? Join our email list so that you don't miss a podcast update or our subscribers perks. Your voice matters. Our email and social tabs make it easy to say hello and ask questions, or simply join a growing community that celebrates the magic of real love. Unexpected love stories, because sometimes the best stories are the ones you never saw coming.
All right, so you guys did the work,
Hmm.
Yes.
and then Timmy, when did you go like, I better put a ring on it?
um, I think we were so set on that when we first like had our kiss, recognized we're more than friends. I think we were already heading in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like we just don't know when. Um, it was about a year later. So we were friends for a year, we dated for a year, and then we got engaged.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it
Okay, was it spontaneous? Was it
no
planned?
planned.
Plan. Yes.
As
Was
I was going, I was
planned.
retracting a little, thinking of the details. She knew it was coming.
Mhm.
Um, we were talking about marriage as soon as we
Yeah.
started, like we got together because we just knew like
We're gonna
she
do
didn't,
God's way.
yeah,
That's what we decided.
she didn't want to like come out of a divorce and then just kind of like go on this dating spree. She's
Yeah.
all, if I'm going to be in a relationship, it's going to be true and blue till the end.
Hmm.
And so, because she thought like she actually told the Lord before we actually, um the veil was open in a sense, like we were talking about, to our relationship. She was like, I don't ever want to get married again. Then we realized like, hey, we're actually a perfect couple. We're like our so solid. Like let's make this happen. So it was always in our mind, that we're
Okay.
heading in that direction. And
Yeah.
so I proposed to
Let's
her.
have
uh,
I was gonna say, let's have that proposal story.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. um I had a bunch of our friends from the dance industry meet up at a friend's house. He's a mechanic, and a good friend of mine's, that I've known, since high school. And I told her, sorry, Lord, I lied. Um, car broke
It's,
down.
yeah.
I already apologized to God. Car broke down, honey, and I'm bringing it to Mario's house. Mario's my mechanic. You got to come and pick me up. And so I had,
All those
flowers.
people in
I
there.
had everyone there. I had flowers. I had a cake. We had like a whole, presentation for her to celebrate. She knocks on the door, and I'm in like a little suit jacket, and she's like,
I look horrible, Dawn.
yeah, yeah. I gave her
It
no
was
warning. She thought she was just picking me up, so she threw like
it was
an old
kind of in
jacket
the
on.
evening.
Yeah,
I have no makeup on. My hair looks crazy. I have the most ugly outfit on too. I don't know. It was just like I did not
yeah.
look cute at
Yeah, she
all.
didn't enjoy taking pictures at night, so yeah, I did the traditional thing when she walked in the door. Everyone's around and they're all surrounded. And
Yeah.
hand her a rose, get down on my knee, propose to her in front of, witnesses, in front of everybody. She said yes. And yeah, so she probably didn't enjoy all the pictures because, she thought she was picking me up from the mechanics. But that was, so I did get a chance to surprise her, even though we knew we were heading in that direction
Hmm.
from the very beginning. We were just like,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
Mm. So how'd you tell your family and your other friends?
Well, because
What
my
and
family is so far in Brazil,
Mhm.
I'm saying, I just needed to tell them, yeah, I'm getting married, I'm saying, and
They were a little worried because
yes, yes,
they knew
because
your
they
first
haven't
marriage didn't work
met
out.
you. Yes, exactly. I'm saying, but they're fine. They trust me. You know what I mean? That's like, okay, we trust you that you know what you're doing. And from all my family, unfortunately, the only person that could be in our wedding was my middle sister.
She flew down, yeah,
She flew
from
down.
Brazil.
She was coming anyway to visit. Then, She just decided to come in a time that my wedding was in there.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course him not having parents. He already his parents were deceased at that time. But
I have a brother and sister,
mhm,
and
Mhm.
um, aunt and uncle came, and so I had some family members. Um, I'm not, I wasn't super close to like my aunt and uncle. They were my guardians at the time, but uh, we've had some issues that I ended up leaving the house and was homeless while I was in high school. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other podcast. That's an entirely different podcast.
that's why our
Uh,
marriage is a miracle, because coming from a broken marriage, not having really a example, in front of him, going through foster homes, losing the parents in an early age, I'm saying, becoming homeless. So it is God, because it's a miracle, because I just like, you are one of the most wonderful husbands. I have the best husband in the world. Sorry, sorry everybody, but I do. It's always incredible to me to see how amazing he is without having that tangible human being teaching him how to be a,
Mhm.
you know
I had the Lord.
Yep.
amen. You
Yep.
did.
Yep.
But yeah, yeah. So I shared with my brother. I shared with my sister. My sister lives in Hawaii, and they're all congratulations. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't hard for them to you know support me and be happy for me.
All right. So now you're planning your wedding. Tell us about that wedding day.
Wedding was a miracle. um, I'll just tell you,
We were broke.
yeah,
We were broke.
we were broke, and we made a covenant with the Lord, and when we made that covenant with the Lord, we saw from that point on all these miracles started taking place.
Hmm.
We had barely any money, but we had a $20,000 wedding that only cost us about $3,000. We tell people, and
Hmm.
so we had the venue was given to us for free. It was on a beautiful ranch. Um, we had a
The cake was for free.
the cake was done for free. Aury's dress was made for her for free. The book
Photographer.
the photographer came down and did it for free. Professional photographer,
Videographer.
videographer came and did it for free. We had a DJ that gave us a really great discount. Um, yeah, the caterer. I think we said that
Yeah.
we had the honeymoon paid for us for free. Um,
I know.
yeah, so
It's crazy.
decorations, everything, tableware. We had everything was like just given to. I had a friend that I grew up with that owned a tuxedo shop. So it's just like everything was just given to us,
Yeah.
and we just saw God blessing us one after another. Like just it was just wild to us, and
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's
we paid for
really,
just a couple $1,000s for I forget. I think for the caterer cooked it, but we paid for
yeah.
some of the food and
Like
Mhm.
even
such.
the flower arrangement, somebody knew a girl that was starting her business. So she just offered up to do it. So
Do it
it's
for
just
free.
paying for materials here and there, materials for the dress. You know what I'm saying?
The
And
dress was made
yeah,
for free. It was a beautiful dress, but
yeah.
we just
Oh
had to
yeah.
pay for some of the materials. So it was just everything was given to us, and we didn't ask anyone to give us favors.
No,
We
no.
just prayed and said, God, we want to have a great wedding, but we can't afford it.
Right. And at the time too, we're trying so hard to save up money. And when it got to a certain point that we had a little money in the savings, really not even $3,000. I'm talking about less than that. You know what I'm saying? We really felt at that particular moment that God said, okay, something came up, a need came up, and we felt God saying, give that money to that,
Yeah.
to that need, and we did. It took a minute. I'm not gonna play like, oh my gosh, immediately we were beaten. No, we weren't. It took us a
Yeah.
week to like, are you sure?
God would say, give $1,000 to this. The church is doing this program. It's like an outreach thing, and
Right.
and we just like every time we get a little bit of money, he just kept on telling us
Tell it to give it
to give it
away.
away, and I'm like, we got a wedding to pay for, and somehow the wedding was above and
Yes.
beyond anything that we could have done, even if we
Hmm.
saved up all our pennies.
We were literally able to have almost what, 300 people, in this wedding.
Mm.
And in that moment, we are very, very into the dance industry. So that community and the Christian community, the church community, so rose up, I'm saying, to bless us. I'm saying, a lot of people, I mean, the
A lot of gifts
videographer,
and such.
yes, like the videographer was a choreographer, the person who did our catering was a choreographer. So it's just like they all came together and
Yeah,
really,
and we didn't ask him.
yeah,
You know, we said we'll pay and all that, and then they said, you know what, I'm gonna do it for free.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was just pretty incredible.
Hmm.
That's completely incredible. And friends, I'm going to tell you right now that you're going to see Timmy and Ari's beautiful photos of their wedding day. She looks gorgeous, I want to tell you. And their 25th wedding anniversary, they had a big celebration as well. And we have
Yeah,
pictures of that.
yeah,
And you can find those on our website, unexpectedlovestories.com. And the link is in the episode show notes below. All right. So you got your honeymoon paid for.
yes.
Where
Yeah.
did you go? What'd you do? Well, you don't have to tell us what you did. What did you
Well, we went to San Luis
It's a
Obispo. It's
G-rated show. G-rated show. Okay.
yes, yes. It's a beach town, and it was pretty incredible.
It was
Um,
beautiful, yeah.
it was like called the Sycamore Springs, and
Hmm.
because they had
The natural springs,
it's a
the
natural
hot
hot
springs,
springs, those
yes.
areas, but it was in the woods, and your hotel was kind of like in a tree house. There was
Hmm.
just trees going through like the hotel area, and you can actually go in these
Wow.
little jacuzzis in the
Yeah,
tree house, and it was all hot springs. It was all about these hot springs that they promoted. So you had a jacuzzi on your patio in the hotel, and it was these natural waters, and it was amazing. It felt
yeah.
wonderful. They had a beautiful restaurant in the woods, and so
It was
we just
nice.
had some people that we knew, friends, actually friends from my high school, that paid for it, and they surprised me with it. It was like 3 days of just enjoying this wonderful
Nature.
nature and this things that we love so much. So yeah, it was a wonderful
Yeah.
surprise, and so we had a great honeymoon.
The cute thing is, like, when you went, they had like a little, they gave each one of the guests in a hotel room a little rubber duck. We still
Rubber
have that
ducky.
little rubber ducky. Yes, we still
Yeah,
have
Oh.
it. 27 years old.
yeah. We're sitting in our bathroom right
It's sitting
now.
in our bathroom right now.
Like, yeah, that
Oh.
was our souvenir.
Oh. That's so
You know,
sweet. And then you got to celebrate your 25th anniversary and
Hmm.
you
yes, we had a big
had a
party
great
for our 25th.
celebration. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our 27th will be this August. The 25th was amazing because we performed. We did a dance together. Um, we did communion. We had friends come and share. I did like a really fun video for her. She thought it was like a slideshow. So it was just
Mhm.
all these different slideshows, and then suddenly the slideshow just
Start
interrupts,
glitching.
started glitching, and it ended up being a music video with me in a long rocker wig singing Aerosmith. I don't want to close my eyes, lip
Because
singing.
that was our song that we danced,
Yeah.
our first dance song. So he
So I
did a
did a
little,
whole music video with a whole band, and we yeah, different locations. So I did a whole music video that she didn't know I was
yeah.
gonna do. So that was a lot of fun.
And that's been something that we literally, in the beginning of our marriage, we decided that life is too short, what I'm saying, and we gonna protect our marriage and our relationship from stress and anger and fighting, and we gonna make everything, like, not a joke, but everything joyful. We're gonna
Light.
laugh at everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
We said
since
make things
today,
light. We say
yeah,
let's make it light,
yes,
even if it's a heavy subject. Let's
we're gonna make it light and
yeah.
we're gonna
Mhm.
laugh out of
Yeah.
it, what I'm
And we
saying.
take that from Matthew 11:30, where it says the Lord, his yoke is easy and his burden is light.
Yeah,
And I'm saying if we're a part of we're if we're yoked with Jesus, we believe that things can be handled
yeah.
lightly.
Mhm.
And so we do it with a lot of grace, with a lot of
Hmm.
patience. And so
So up
that's
to
just been kind of like
today,
our
yeah,
our
up to
house.
today, even that we just, like, even going to bed at night, I'm saying, it's like this became our routine. It's like, what do you want to hear? What do you want to hear? You want to watch something, like, put some comedy, clean comedy. Put some clean comedy in, and we just go to bed with that, with laughter, and I'm saying our
Yeah.
hearts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We we like to laugh.
I love it. I like that. Okay, so let's share a little bit about some things that are coming up. You've got your last word in motion
Our dance.
dance.
hmm
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Would
have
you
a
share about that?
yeah, we've been doing it. This is our 15th one, but it's our last one. We've done a dance festival throughout the summer. We stopped doing it in 2019 once COVID happened, and so we did a couple of them online and like virtual ones, and and then we just felt like the Lord told us to do one last one. Um, so this will be our 15th one that we've done, and it's going to be in Los Angeles, and it's July 17th to the 19th. And I'm sure Don will leave a link if you want to
Hmm.
read about how you can register or watch a promo video. But yep, that's
Yeah.
one of the events that we get to host, that we're privileged to host
hmm hmm
this summer.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yep.
And then tell us about Life 150 Church.
Yes,
How
Life
did
One.
that, how did you guys step into that? Okay, so going from dancers
Yeah.
to stepping into that, that's a big transition.
Uh, Life 150 Church came out of an idea where we started a nighttime service at the church we were under before we branched off and started our own church. And the night service was utilizing music that was kind of like created from the urban culture and such. So we had singers and rappers in our worship. We had hip hop dancers and lyrical dancers that danced during worship. So it was just something that God put in our heart, and
hmm
we felt like the Lord's hand was on it. We weren't trying to do something so gimmicky or anything like that. We didn't do it for those reasons. It was just really who we were.
Yeah.
And from there, we heard the Lord, and that's a long story, but I'll just say we both eventually heard the Lord to start our own church, and our pastors said, "Yeah, go for it."
hmm
We shared that vision with them and that dream that we had, or that prayer that we received. And so we started Life 150 Church. It was first called the Underground Church, and again with the same concept of
Yeah.
utilizing, rap artists and worship singers and collaborating that
Yeah.
fusion together, to bring about a worship sound that we thought was like necessary and unique and not seen in the churches, and we wanted
hmm
to create something different.
Wanted to create a space for people like us that was not willing to go to a traditional church setting, that we didn't
Hmm.
feel that we fit in, that we didn't feel like this is who we are in a sense, and really be introduced to and introduce other people to that side of God, the
Hmm.
God that created the traditional church, but also created a church that is for people like you and I, artists, I'm
Hmm.
saying, and people who are different, people who are not so much fit in a certain category, I'm saying.
Hmm.
And I think that's what the church was birthed out of that need, of like reaching out to a community of people that absolutely not, they have horrific examples or experience with, unfortunately, with traditional settings of church, I'm saying. And I feel like was God saying, go reach out to those people that I love so
Hmm.
dearly, you know so yeah, that was part of it too.
All right. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Going outside the box. Well, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
want to thank you. Yes, I want to thank you so much for sharing your incredible love story. How can people who've been moved by your story connect with
Connect with us.
you? Hmm.
We do have Instagram platforms that they can visit and contact us and message us. Mine is Timmy Ritz. Aury's is Aury Ritz. You know, uh, and I'm sure you'll provide the links for that. So, because my name is spelled differently, um,
Hmm.
and yeah, so people are welcome to reach out to us if they go to life150.org. That's our website for the church. There's a way to contact us directly through the church
Okay.
website. So yeah, if anybody wants to connect with us and
Yes.
hear from us,
Yeah.
I guess those are the best ways to do it.
And they're great people. You do want to connect with them. Believe me. And now, friends, I want you to remember that even when you stumble and fall, love's waiting for you. So don't lose heart. So if you enjoyed this story, then I'm going to ask you to follow or subscribe our podcast so that you don't miss just one single story, because you'll miss a lot if you do. And please share this podcast with someone who loves a good love story. And remember, you can find out more about Tymme and Aury at our website, unexpectedlovestories.com. You'll want to check out their photos. You'll want to be able to find all their links to be able to contact them, to find out about their dance conference. You want to find out about their church. Please look into that. Click the web link in the show notes below. It's going to take you there, right to their episode. And I hope that your heart feels lighter and full of hope after hearing their story. You know, sometimes the best love stories are the ones that we never saw coming. So keep your heart open because love's waiting for you. We'll see you next time. Bye.